Um, were you conscious of certain tropes of speculative fiction that you didn't want to replicate when you sat down to write The Ghost Squad? And how did you avoid them if that was the case?
Yes, so what I didn't want to do was to have a main character find out that they were really, you know, the long lost son of some great prince or some great savior or something. So the two teenagers who are in the book, Polly and Swan, who come from very different backgrounds, they are, you know, Swan thinks he knows a lot about the world because he operates out of the base. He's a young agent for them. He knows that what people have been told generally is not true, but he doesn't know as much as he thinks, you know. And then Polly is the daughter of a homicide detective. She's her mother goes missing, and she's just lived in this ordinary world. She is not aware of all these things. She thinks people like, you know, there's this group called the Hermes Group, which is constantly trying, which is associated with the base, and which is trying to raise people's awareness. And they have, you know, they send you flyers and all that. And she thinks they're cuckoo, you know. So she's thrust into this world that just had no idea of and is just terrifying. But in a sense, you know, both she and Swan in different ways have to learn things that they didn't know and how to cope with it. But neither of them sort of find out that they're really the savior or whatever. And that's not sort of being a spoiler because, you know, it's never is like that. But there's this little boy who is, they basically protect, they discover him when they're fleeing together on for a particular reason, and they discover this little boy, and he is very mysterious, enigmatic, but very sweet. Not enigmatic in a, you know, scary way or anything like that. He's just doesn't know even, you know, where he is, what's going on, etc. And so there's not that those tropes of the savior and the stuff, but their mission is still to protect him. You know, I like the thing of the protection thing, and I like the thing of in speculative fiction where you get, it's a bit like detective fiction, I suppose, where you get to know more and more and more until you realize the truth of what lies at the heart of things, you know. But also I wanted to balance the characters so that you had a female and a male character, and that one wasn't more important than the other or anything else. They were just, and they also had different narrative voices, all that sort of thing. I didn't want also there to be, it's not a magic sort of book. There's no magic or, you know, anything like that. And the other thing that I didn't want to do was, the world is like ours, but not like ours. But it's not sort of, you know, there's not anything particularly otherworldly about it. You know, and I haven't sort of, the other thing I haven't done, and I know that speculative fiction doesn't do this anyway, but I haven't actually tethered it to any real places. So the real places did inspire various settings, but I wanted to take bits and pieces from all over the world. I didn't want to set it, like I didn't want to set it in Australia or in New Zealand or wherever. I wanted to set it in a place. It's called the Federation in the book. And so you get things and you think, oh, this must be Australia, or this must be New Zealand. And then suddenly you get something quite different. And you, oh, you know, because that's the other thing. I didn't want people to feel too comfortable about thinking, oh, you know, that's, I understand where that is. I can see, you know, I wanted to sort of constantly keep you on your toes. So, you know, that is something that speculative fiction does try to do. But I did try to avoid the kind of, savior or hidden prince or whatever. But there is something very important which you only learn at the end. But it's all of a piece with what happens before. But it's not about the characters that you hear from mostly. So
yes, and